What is going on YouTube? My name is Salim for those of you guys who don't know. So, I just saw Justice League today and I got to be honest that um this is going to be a non-spoiler review, by the way. Just wanted to get that out of the way, but at the end I'm going to give away the post-credit scene, so if you don't want to know that, I'll give you a warning just to let you know. So, not gonna really go over the plot. I mean, it's just Steppenwolf. He has these they're called mother boxes. Basically, it's gonna give him almost unlimited power, basically, and he's basically just gonna ruin the world. Typical bad guy stuff, right? And I want to start out with the positives for this movie. The characters that were in this movie were well developed. I thought all of the actors did a good job. That's another thing. Let's talk about just the characters one by one. Batman, Ben Affleck. I felt like he kind of didn't want to be there. I don't know, just something seemed off. You could tell the behind the scenes thing was kind of getting to him a little bit. I wasn't sure entirely, but just I still thought he did a good job. I felt like he did a little bit better in Batman v Superman, but you know, I don't know. I mean, it was meh. Aquaman, Jason Momoa was actually quite good in this movie. I enjoyed his performance. Solid job by him. Let's see. Wonder Woman. Okay, she did a good job. I'll give her that. Ezra Miller as the Flash. I don't know. I just didn't really quite find his humor funny, but I guess it made the movie a little bit more relatable. I can understand that part. So, you know, you don't want the movie to be too dark and brooding to a point where it's boring and cliche, but you also don't want it to be like just purely jokey because DC is supposed to be somewhat more serious than Marvel because Marvel has different characters obviously, and some of those characters they're more quirky and just humorous, but it's fine. I could tolerate Ezra Miller. I didn't hate him. I'm not gonna compare him to Grant Gustin because I feel like that's unfair. And I heard they're both gonna cross over at some point, the movie Flash and the TV Flash. I don't know when that's gonna happen, but I don't know. Maybe in the sequel if they do it, because this movie made no money at the box office. That's another thing I'm gonna mention. It has nothing to do with the movie itself or the quality, but there was not that many people when I went to go see this movie earlier. Because I get it. Maybe it's the timing and everything, but even then, I was expecting some people to show up, but there was like less than 20 people in that theater. So shows you something. I went with my friend, so that was a good experience. So yeah, just gonna talk about more stuff I liked. Um, the post credit scenes, which like I said, I'll get into. Those were good. The plot itself, how was that? I mean, I guess it was just like a bad guy wants to take over the world plot, and obviously these Justice League members have to come together in order to stop him. It's kind of like, okay, been there, done that, but that's fine. I feel like the way it was executed was decent. I guess that's why I enjoyed this movie was the directing of Zack Snyder, which I don't know. I felt like having Zack Snyder direct DC might have kind of put them in a bad spot because don't get me wrong, he's a good director, but I don't know if he was. I don't know. I don't know how he feels about DC because it almost seems to tire him out a little bit. But yeah, there were certain scenes directed by Joss Whedon, but it didn't really bother me that much or affect me because I couldn't really tell, to be honest with you. It didn't feel like, oh, two different movies. Because when I heard Joss Whedon was coming on to finish up some scenes, I thought, oh, since he's directing some of it, I think that maybe that's gonna make it feel like two different movies. But other than that, yeah, I was just fine with that, and just overall, I think I guess both of them, I should say, did a good job, and you know, yeah, I mean, the tone was decent, I guess, and um, another thing I wanted to talk about was the special effects, which okay, Cyborg, in the trailer I thought it looked weird. It just looked like CGI Borg, as a lot of people were saying, but this one it didn't bother me as much. Um, uh, Steppenwolf, the bad guy in this movie, he wasn't that great. Honestly, I think Michael Shannon as Zod was a better villain, even though I didn't really care for Man of Steel that much, the movie itself. But I liked Michael Shannon in that better than I liked Steppenwolf in this movie because I don't know. You just I was never a huge Steppenwolf fan. I didn't really know who he was up until like Batman v Superman. Yeah, I don't know. It just the character just didn't resonate with me. I mean, there are better DC villains out there, such as obviously Heath Ledger's Joker or whatnot. But I don't blame the actor playing Steppenwolf. I think he did a fine job. It's just I don't know. Maybe it was the writing. But yeah, there's a lot I could talk about, but anyways, let me just name the things I didn't like. Um, the weirdest part is I know there was technically a cameo if you've seen the movie, but I won't spoil too much. But um, there were certain Justice League members that should have been in this movie that weren't, which kind of upset me. But I don't know. I guess I'll deal with it. Maybe in the sequel they'll set that up or have them in there. I felt like there were a lot more characters they could have utilized, and even Batman at one point said like, "Oh, there's not enough of us," and it's like, yeah, you could have had a few more people, you know. I don't know. I felt like that would have taken up more time, but whatever. Anyway, so I mean, you know, I guess they kind of teased at the possibility there are other characters out there, and you know, DC. One of my biggest problems with them is that they seem to kind of just rush through this thing. I mean, you know, it feels like they're trying to play catch up to Marvel. That's what I meant. But yeah, all right. Uh, Those are just kind of my gripes with DC, not really the movie itself. I mean, you know, it was serviceable. I felt like if I were directing this movie, it would be way different, obviously. And you know, there were some things I would change, maybe take out. And there were obviously scenes in the trailer. Everyone's mentioned this by now. Scenes in the trailer that were not in the movie. So yeah, one word that describes this movie and what I thought of it, I would say it's decent. And the reason why is because I actually enjoyed this better than Batman v Superman: The Ultimate Edition. So yeah, it's a serviceable action movie. You know, decent. That's my rating. So let's talk about those post credit scenes, shall we? All right. So first one, oh yeah, you can stop watching the video at this point because I'm kind of going into spoiler territory. So yeah, the first one is the Flash and Superman at the end of the movie. Oh, by the way, that shouldn't be a shocker. I mean, we all kind of knew Superman was in this movie, but yeah, um, he basically decides the Flash decides to race Superman and whatnot, and then basically if the Flash loses, he's out of the Justice League. That's what Henry Cavill kind of made that joke, and then the Flash responds, he's like, okay, but if I win, I get to tell everybody that I beat you, and then they both race at the same time, and then we don't see who wins. The second one I liked a lot more, which was that we see somebody on a speedboat going towards Lex Luthor's yacht, and we see Lex Luthor on the yacht, and then the person gets off the boat, and of course it's Deathstroke. I kind of had a feeling when we saw the tassels on the back of his head, and then yeah, basically he gets off his speedboat. Deathstroke approaches Lex Luthor, and then he basically is like, "Oh, quit wasting my time." And then Lex Luthor just kind of talks to him, and then he uses this very famous line. He says, "Oh, it's time we form a league of our own." And then he's kind of hinting at maybe Injustice League. I don't know what league was he talking about. I mean, they already have a Suicide Squad established, but I'm assuming it's maybe Injustice League or some other league of villains. You know, just I don't know. I felt like Jesse Eisenberg, he did a better job in that one scene than he did in BVS, because in BVS he just felt like kind of a cartoon character. But you know, I guess maybe it's a sign of things to come in the future. Maybe it'll get better. So yeah, it was exciting to see Deathstroke without his helmet too. That was pretty cool. So yeah, those are just my thoughts on the movie. Have you guys seen Justice League? I'm assuming you haven't, because one, I did a non-spoiler review, and two, uh, yeah, not that many people saw it. Even the box office numbers showed. I mean, I don't know, that was weird, but yeah, I mean, when the Avengers came out, everybody went to go see that, but Justice League, everybody's like, eh. I don't know. I just found that weird, but yeah, thank you for watching, and hopefully you enjoyed this video. Goodbye.